What if losing your sense of smell changes more than just the flavor of food? What if it also reduces stimulation, reaching brain systems involved in emotion and mood? And years later, changes in your psychological well-being become more likely. A paper by researchers at UC Irvine Berkeley makes an even bolder claim that regular smell stimulation might help to build a brain reserve. But the paper's title goes so far as to call olfactory enrichment an effective treatment for depression. Does the evidence actually justify that? By the end of this video, I'll show you the strongest evidence for that connection, and why, despite the paper being all about depression, what it suggests about cognitive reserve may be the most important idea in the whole paper. Hi, I'm Jonathan from Memories, and I educate people about the connection between our sense of smell, brain, and memory health. Through Memories, we offer smell training kits, programs, trainings, and workshops. You can learn more at www.memories.care. Smell loss is about more than just not being able to smell the roses. 85 to 90% of our experience of flavor is actually carried out through our sense of smell. Our sense of smell also allows us to identify hazards and is intimately connected to memory and emotional processing. And so losing your sense of smell impacts how you experience the world. That alone offers a plausible connection between lowered sense of smell and changes in psychological and social well-being. And the paper, which is open sourced and linked below, offers a neural possibility as well. Reduced sensory input may affect brain systems used for processing emotion and memory. So there's an obvious connection where losing your sense of smell just makes life less rewarding. Food becomes flatter, familiar places feel different, and social experiences become less vivid. But this paper also asks whether there is also something happening in the brain's stimulation network. There are now many studies finding an association between olfactory impairment and depressive symptoms. More importantly, a longitudinal study cited in this paper found that adults with olfactory impairment at baseline were more likely to develop depressive symptoms 5 or 10 years later, whereas baseline depressive symptoms did not similarly predict olfactory impairment down the road. So that timing and causal relationship makes smell loss a more intriguing vulnerability marker. It doesn't prove smell loss causes depression, since there can be any number of other things happening over that 5 or 10-year period. But it certainly raises a flag as something everyone should be aware of and be paying attention to. So why does smell present as having unusual access to emotion and memory? The olfactory pathway has a close connection to the amygdala and hippocampal systems in our brain. These form part of the limbic region, the midbrain if you will, and our sense of smell has a unique pathway from all of our other senses to this part of our brain. The amygdala helps assign emotional significance, and the hippocampus helps form and retrieve memories. The entorhinal and orbifrontal cortices also help integrate odor, memory, reward, and conscious evaluation. So when we smell something, we're not merely labeling an odor. We can instantly attach and associate meaning, emotion, and memory. That unusually intimate connection is why losing a sense of smell could alter mood and well-being. So far, the evidence says that smell loss can precede depression and that the biology is plausible. But prediction is not prevention. The real test is whether adding smell stimulation changes anything. So this opens the intervention question. What happened when researchers added smell stimulation? Well, here are two different studies that get cited in this paper. One study used older adults. In the experimental group, they smelled 4 odors twice a day for 5 months, while the control group did Sudoku puzzles every day. The olfactory enrichment group improved in smell function, verbal and semantic function, and reported fewer depressive symptoms. The Sudoku group did not experience a significant change in any of these categories. And in a study using dementia patients, 34 participants who were in the experimental group received 40 odors twice a day for 15 days, whereas there were 31 people in the control group who received no odor stimulation. The enriched group, after only 15 days, improved on several different smell categories: language, memory, attention, and depression measures relative to controls. And again, that was after enrichment for only 15 days. Other small studies also cited in this paper reported changes in gray matter volume and cortical thickness after olfactory enrichment, and this included regions in the brain that are involved in memory and odor processing, and I'll link to a video where I get into some of these studies. So despite a small number of studies, or studies with small numbers of people, these are provocative results. A fascinating area discussed in this paper is that of cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is the brain's capacity to keep functioning despite age-related changes or pathologies. Think of it less as repairing every damaged road and more like having more roads to traverse even when some get blocked. And so a few of the ways that it's referenced in this paper is studies on environmental stimulation in animal studies that helped animal brains function better despite underlying injury or pathology. The authors propose that olfactory input may be an underused part of human environmental stimulation. And so in this model, enrichment helps strengthen connections and pathways. It doesn't defeat or get rid of pathology or diseases, but rather strengthens the brain's capacity to work with and around them. And so a quick summary of what this paper establishes and then suggests. It establishes that smell loss and depressive symptoms are associated, and suggests that smell loss may precede depression in older adults. It establishes that olfactory pathways connect closely with memory and emotion centers in the brain, and suggests that smell enrichment may improve cognition and mood. It establishes that small interventions report promising outcomes, and suggests that repeated sensory input can contribute to cognitive reserve. There's a lot of research to be done on the sense of smell. We know that it connects intimately to the emotional and mood processing parts of our brain, and evidence is showing great reasons for using sensory enrichment in this area, both to just benefit well-being in general and as a precaution against disease and pathology. The larger lesson is that the brain depends on input. Most of us chronically understimulate our sense of smell throughout our entire lives. And so the inverse of this, intentional engagement with smell, bolsters and strengthens neural connections to key areas in our brain. Our sense of smell and the olfactory pathway remains among the most neuroplastic throughout the lifespan. And so along with other health practices, sensory stimulation using the sense of smell is arguably one of the best things we can do for long-term brain health. If you want to see what a standard smell training routine looks like, some of the do's and don'ts, I've covered that in another video that'll be linked over here. And if you'd like to get started on your own smell journey, we make professional kits that make it easy for you to remember and access these incredible scientific findings. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.